A study released today is highlighting the depth of homelessness in Ontario.
Homeless encampments are on the rise in Toronto.
Ontario's government says it's taking action to clear homeless encampments.
All right, welcome to the channel. And today we are talking about homelessness in Canada. So let's jump right into the video.
American income per person is up. After she learned that there are 2 million people lined up at food banks, 38% more chronic homelessness, 1,400 homeless encampments in Ontario after 9 years of this government. She says we're not in a recession, we're in a vibe session, she says. So what's her message to people who are hungry and homeless after 9 years of her government? They just need to get with the vibe?
Exactly.
So 1,400 encampments alone in Ontario, and I think these numbers are a little bit older. So there's between 265,000 and 300,000 in Ontario alone, and they are expecting to be close to 1 million people by 2030. With 1 million people homeless in Canada, that's basically going to affect everybody throughout your day-to-day life. You're going to be seeing it everywhere. You're going to be dealing with it. It's just a problem that they really need to figure out.
Do you know what the best way to get people be able to get out of the encampments, get out of homeless? Get an application and drop it off one of these companies and start working. You need to start working if you're healthy. Bottom line, if you're unhealthy, I'll take care of you the rest of my life. Your life will take care of you. But if you're healthy, get off your ASS and start working like everyone else is. Very simple.
So I don't really like that comment from Doug Ford. Obviously, I'm sure there are quite a few people that just don't want to work. And I mean, that's their choice. Can't really force them to, but the problem's a lot worse than that. There's so many issues that contribute to homelessness, from financial to mental issues, addictions. There's so many. For him to be saying that, it's a little bit ridiculous. I don't think he knows what it's like to earn a regular wage. There's people who have full-time jobs and are homeless just because they can't afford the rent.
This guy that goes around Toronto and interviews homeless people, and he's like, what got you here? And this girl was so articulate, and she was like, yeah, I lost my apartment because I lost my job, and now we camp around in tents, but she just seemed like a normal human. And it broke my heart because I understand a lot of homelessness is mental health, which obviously still very much breaks my heart. But it's like your average citizen that was just very much working a normal job, had her own apartment, and just simply is homeless because of the fact that our economy doesn't allow her to be able to afford anything if she's a single girl.
I don't think it's just a single girl. Anyone who's single is going to have it a lot harder than somebody who has a husband or wife or a significant other at home with an income. So anyone who's single, that's going to be really difficult, especially with saving money these days. It's for the majority of people, it's impossible to save.
I came here originally just myself with just a shopping cart and a tarp that I had found in the garbage bin. Then I found a tent in the garbage bin as well. I had really lost my way of my path, I guess, and I'm now here with a few friends and my street family. We don't choose to live in tents. The government forces us to, because how else are we going to shelter ourselves from the natural elements of nature?
I haven't met with the organizers of the the original camp. Who I have met with are some of the outreach workers that are out there visiting with the folks. As you know, housing and health and mental health, addictions, social services, CIS, all of that belongs with the provincial government. And so working really hard to provide a level of dignity and relationship.
She needs to come down from that pretty little office of hers and come and communicate with us. Come and get to know her people, as she calls us.
Pretty sad to see that. I don't want to just jump and guess what our issues is, but the first thing that comes to mind obviously is possibly mental or addictions problems. Jumping back to Doug Ford, just thinking you're physically able to work, mentally you might not be able to. Mentally, or even with an addiction, you're not going to be able to hold down a full-time job. It's issues that I think the government needs to consider. The people need help. So it looks like a subway station, I'm guessing. I've never actually seen one here in Canada, but I'm guessing that's what it is. And I couldn't imagine having to walk through that on your way to work or getting off work. Definitely doesn't look very clean. Wouldn't feel very safe, especially like if you're a woman having to walk through that at night. That's going to be pretty scary, I guess. I would guess. Even for a guy, you're not going to feel very safe.
The wastewater that is running down the University Bridge will be collected from the neighborhoods on the east side. There's a small leak, and there is sanitary sewer that is leaking out of the pipe down the bridge and then into the river. There is a 400 millimeter sanitary sewer line that runs under the University Bridge that became compromised during the fire. Crews right now from the Water Waste Operations Department are working to set up a bypass.
So there's all kinds of concerns with the encampments because, of course, they have to keep themselves warm. They have fires going. This caused a fire, caused all kinds of damage. Imagine this is a regular thing occurring. If you're around homes and things like that, there's dangers to you as a homeowner. It would be scary to have an encampment nearby and have to deal with these kind of issues. Not only just, chance of a fire, but, with the addictions there, syringes, things like that. It's something that really needs to be looked into and figured out. And I don't think our government is capable of doing that.
I'm a reporter in Toronto. Today I was assigned to cover the clearing of a homeless encampment in Kensington Market. This evening, the city moved in to clear the encampment that was located in front of St. Stephen in the Field Anglican Church. Some advocates fear clearing the encampment may further isolate people who have been living there. Homeless advocates spent the day outside peacefully holding signs as city crews moved in. Now, while our cameras were on scene, we only spotted one person still at the encampment while it was being cleared. Officials with the church say only the south side would be cleared out for now, but volunteers worry about what will happen to those that have been moved. They're worried that this will further isolate them from their community as well as city resources. Many of the people who've been calling the encampment home have been living there for about 2 years, but the city says it had to clear the site for what it's calling continuing an immediate public safety risk. Now, the site is made up of both public and private land owned by the church. Notice has been given to about 7 or 8 people that have been living there.
As a owner of a property, of course, you're not going to want this nearby. For safety concerns, just overall, it doesn't look good. I mean, it's going to bring down the value of your property. But everything I've looked at, they are not actually doing anything besides taking them down and pushing them out. Of course, they're just going to move to another area. They're not solving the problem. They're spending money and not getting any type of result whatsoever, but moving the problem to a different area. Just doesn't seem like any common sense is being used.
Down here on Hastings Street in Vancouver, British Columbia, in Canada, in one of the worst areas of drug addiction and homelessness that we have up here in this part of North America. And I was just walking past a guy who was carrying a suitcase with a sleeping bag on it, all of his stuff attached to just one piece of luggage. And as he walked by me, he said, "I don't know why people look at me and think that this life is easy and that I have it so easy and that I don't want to work on myself. This is the most difficult thing I've ever had to do in my life. Being homeless is one of the hardest things I have put myself through." It's not really a conversation you'd think you'd be hearing down here out of these people. But that's because we don't listen. We judge. We show up with looking at people for the labels that society places on them when everyone has a story. And everyone's story is valid if we're willing to listen and understand them for more than the label that we show up with. So I'm grateful for that individual for sharing that piece of information with me, even though I wasn't the one he was having the conversation with, so I could share it with you. Let's show up for each other. You know, this is what the world needs right now. Less judgment, more understanding.
I think that's a really important point. It's so easy when everything is going great for you, yourself, your family, to look at somebody else who's in that lower position or that difficult position and just judge them and say, well, get a job. It's kind of like Doug Ford said, but it's not so easy. You don't know that person's issue. You don't know maybe their disability, maybe they're a veteran, you just don't know. Maybe they lost their job, just didn't have enough to pay rent. There's so many issues that come into play, and it's so easy to judge people. I know I'm guilty of it. I have been guilty of it before. When I see somebody, it is something that pops into your head. It's just, just get a job. It's so easy. It's not that easy.
British Columbians complain about housing all the time. It's all the hot money and toxic speculation. We don't build enough housing. Zoning is broken. We rent-evicted affordable rentals for luxury condos and Airbnb units. All correct, by the way, more or less. We know how we got here. And yet magically, we forget our obsession with housing when we talk about homelessness. Vancouverites in particular love to say that unhoused folks aren't even from here, as if it's against the law to freely move within Canada. People talk about mental health, and sure, let's provide people with services they need for better health outcomes. But let's not pretend that decamping people and having them still sleep on the street in the rain, but now without a tent, is going to help their mental health. Ghouls blame harm reduction and now decriminalization because I guess their solution is death and prison? Yet despite our obsession with housing, when it comes to homelessness, why aren't we talking about the cost of rent? We have decades of data correlating the rising cost of rent with the growing number of people vulnerable to homelessness. We know that homelessness emerged as a social issue in Vancouver in the 1980s, almost immediately after federal affordable housing programs took massive funding cuts. We know that after 1999, only a few years after the federal government stopped investing in affordable housing entirely, homelessness in Vancouver accelerated. We know that years compounded on years of low and stagnant shelter rates, in addition to low and stagnant disability assistance rates, has pushed more people to homelessness. So sure, let's seriously talk about mental health, public safety, and social assistance. But if our governments are not seriously going to take action on the cost of rent, the cost of housing, then they're not seriously taking action on homelessness.
Such a good point with the cost of rent. I mean, it is ridiculous. I mean, it's tripled since I started first renting, and it's taking a majority of my income just to afford a place to live. Obviously, the Trudeau government didn't really care. Hoping Pierre, if he is the next prime minister, something will change there. There needs to be affordable housing. Everyone should be able to have a safe place to go home to at night, whether it's rent or buy a home. Everyone should really be able to afford to buy a home if you have a full-time job. Again, I don't know what the solution is here, but it's a good conversation to have. Drop some comments. Let me know what you think. How do we fix this? How does the government fix it? How should the government go about trying to fix this issue? That's it for today, for this video anyway. Hope you enjoyed it. If you could, hit that like button. Helps get the video out. Consider subscribing. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a great day.